All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I am Meenakshi Sant and with me is Subhadra Ramachandran. The headlines. India is ready to produce 5 billion doses of COVID vaccine by the end of next year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi tells G20 summit. Prime Minister holds bilateral meetings with several world leaders, including US President, on the sidelines of the summit. PM Modi to attend second session of G20 summit on climate change today. Nation pays homage to the unifier of modern India, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, on his birth anniversary today. Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat says, economic progress witnessed by the country over the past years can be attributed to relatively peaceful environment achieved by the armed forces both on borders and internally. India's COVID vaccination coverage crosses 106 crore marks. US FDA allows emergency use of Pfizer-BioNTech corona vaccine for children aged 5 to 11 years. Last rites of actor Puneeth Rajkumar performed in Bengaluru with full state honours. And in T20 Cricket World Cup, India to take on New Zealand in Dubai at 7:30 p.m. today. As India created history by administering 100 crore doses of vaccine against COVID-19, All India Radio salutes all the doctors, nurses and other frontline workers and all those who got vaccinated and made this possible. Even though the country has achieved this feat, we caution our listeners that the battle against COVID is not yet over. We appeal to our listeners to get fully vaccinated at the earliest and also help others get vaccinated. During the festival season, please follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact National Helpline numbers 011 2397 8046 and 1075. And now, the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has highlighted India's contribution to the fight against COVID-19 and spoke about New Delhi's vision of One Earth, One Health. During his intervention at the first G20 session yesterday in Rome, Mr. Modi conveyed that India is ready to produce over 5 billion vaccine doses by the end of next year. He also talked about furthering innovation in healthcare, the need for resilient global supply chain and leveraging technology for human empowerment. Later, in a series of tweets, the Prime Minister described yesterday's proceedings at the summit as extensive and productive. He added that it is important that nations work together to further global good. Yesterday's session was on the global economy and global health. Briefing media in Rome, Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla said the Prime Minister invited G20 countries to make India their partner in economic recovery and supply chain diversification. Mr. Modi also said that despite challenges of the pandemic, India continued to be a trusted partner in the context of reliable supply chains.
The last in-person summit that the Prime Minister had attended was in Osaka in June 2019. Italy's theme for its presidency is People, Planet, Prosperity. It actually comes from the 2030 UN Agenda for Sustainable Development. There are 5 Ps here, but Italy has chosen to retain the 3 Ps as being the theme for the G20 summit. And the focus of Italy is on recovery from the pandemic and strengthening global health governance, economic recovery and resilience, climate change and energy transition, and sustainable development and food security. India fully supports the priority areas chosen by Italy.
On the sidelines of the G20 summit, Mr. Modi interacted with various leaders, including US President Joe Biden, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of Canada Justin Trudeau, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. Mr. Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron held a bilateral meeting on the sidelines of the summit. The two leaders expressed satisfaction at the stage of the wide-ranging India-France strategic partnership. They also reaffirmed their commitment to cooperate in the Indo-Pacific and to find new and innovative ways to contribute towards a free, open and rules-based order in the region. The Prime Minister said the talks revolved around enhancing cooperation in diverse areas and boosting people-to-people relations. Mr. Modi also held a bilateral meeting with his Singaporean counterpart, Lee Hsien Loong. The two leaders reviewed the full range of friendly ties between the two nations. The meeting focused on trade, culture and other subjects. Both leaders discussed global efforts to combat climate change and the forthcoming COP26. They also discussed ongoing efforts to contain the COVID-19 pandemic through expedited vaccination efforts and ensuring supply of critical medicines. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi met Pope Francis at the Vatican City and discussed the COVID-19 pandemic and its consequences for people across the world. They also discussed the challenge posed by climate change. The Prime Minister briefed the Pope about the ambitious initiatives taken by India in combating climate change, as well as India's success in administering 1 billion COVID-19 vaccination doses. They also discussed a wide range of issues aimed at making the planet better, such as fighting climate change and removing poverty. Today is the second and last day of the G20 summit. A report.
Today, the G20 leaders will have two separate sessions on climate change and environment and sustainable development. On the sidelines of the summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will attend an event hosted by US President Joe Biden on supply chain resilience. He is also scheduled to have bilateral meetings with the Prime Minister of Spain and the German Chancellor. Following the G20 summit today in Rome, Mr. Modi will leave for Glasgow to attend the World Leaders Summit of the 26th Conference of Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The high-level segment of COP26 will be held on 1st and 2nd of next month, and the heads of state of more than 120 countries will attend the event. In Glasgow, another important event will be the launch of Global Green Grids initiative under the vision of One Sun, One World, One Grid. Mr. Modi, along with Australian and UK Prime Ministers, will launch a new initiative for infrastructure for resilient island states. Divakar, AR News, Rome.
The Christian community across the country appreciated Prime Minister's meeting with the Pope Francis at Vatican City yesterday with great optimism. Archbishop of Bombay, Oswald Gracias, said that the significance of the meeting between Mr. Modi and Pope Francis will show the necessity and the utility of collaboration. He said the Pope is very interested in India and he has often asked him and spoken about it. Archbishop of Cuttack, Bhubaneswar and head of churches in Odisha, John Barwa, said that Indian Christians are very glad that the Prime Minister has met the Pope. He said surely the relationship will grow as they were looking forward to this meeting for many years. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Rome on the sidelines of G20 summit yesterday. In a tweet, Dr. Jaishankar said that he had a very good meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State and both discussed a wide gamut of issues relating to the partnership between both countries. He said they also updated each other on important regional concerns.
Back home, India's COVID vaccination coverage has crossed 106 crore 18 lakh mark. More than 61,99,000 doses were administered yesterday. Out of the total vaccination, more than 73 crore 32 lakh vaccine doses have been given as first dose, while over 32 crore 86 lakh doses have been administered as second dose. As part of the nationwide vaccination drive, the centre has been supporting the states and union territories by providing them COVID vaccines.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, has authorized the emergency use of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID vaccine in children between 5 and 11 years. It will be the first corona vaccine for young children in the United States. The decision comes after a high-level medical panel advising the government endorse the shots. The FDA decision is expected to make the vaccine available to 28 million American children, many of whom are back in school for offline classes. The FDA authorized a 10 microgram dose of Pfizer's vaccine for young children. Pfizer and BioNTech said their vaccine showed 90.7% efficacy against the coronavirus in a clinical trial of children aged 5 to 11. You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. India is ready to produce 5 billion doses of COVID vaccine by the end of next year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi tells G20 summit. Prime Minister holds bilateral meetings with several world leaders, including US President, on the sidelines of the summit. PM Modi to attend second session of G20 summit on climate change today. Nation pays homage to unifier of modern India, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, on his birth anniversary today. Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat says economic progress witnessed by the country over the past years can be attributed to relatively peaceful environment achieved by armed forces both on borders and internally. India's COVID vaccination coverage crosses 106 crore mark. US FDA allows emergency use of Pfizer-BioNTech corona vaccine for children aged 5 to 11 years. Last rites of actor Puneet Rajkumar performed in Bengaluru with full state honours. And in T20 Cricket World Cup, India to take on New Zealand in Dubai at 7:30 p.m. today. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
आजादी के आंदोलन के खजाने में ऐसे ढेरों शब्द जिन्होंने बदल दिए इतिहास, तारीख बदलने वाले लफ्जों पर आकाशवाणी समाचार ला रहा है विशेष कार्यक्रम धरोहर हर सोमवार।
The nation pays homage to the unifier of modern India, Iron Man Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, on his 146th birth anniversary today. The day is also celebrated as Rashtriya Ekta Divas. President Ram Nath Kovind paid floral tributes to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel at his statue at Patel Chowk in the national capital. Union Minister for Housing and Urban Affairs Hardeep Singh Puri, Delhi LG Anil Baijal, Minister of State for Home Nityanand Rai and Minister of State for External Affairs Meenakshi Lekhi also paid floral tributes to Sardar Patel at his statue. Later, Minister of State for Home administered the Rashtriya Ekta Divas pledge to the people on the occasion. In his Mann Ki Baat program last Sunday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had paid rich tributes to Sardar Patel.
साथियों, 31 अक्टूबर को हम राष्ट्रीय एकता दिवस के रूप में मनाते हैं। हम सभी का दायित्व है कि हम एकता का संदेश देने वाली किसी न किसी गतिविधि से जरूर जुड़े। आपने देखा होगा, हाल ही में गुजरात पुलिस ने कच्छ के लखपत किले से स्टैच्यू ऑफ यूनिटी तक बाइक रैली निकाली है। त्रिपुरा पुलिस के जवान तो एकता दिवस मनाने के लिए त्रिपुरा से स्टैच्यू ऑफ यूनिटी तक बाइक रैली कर रहे हैं, यानी पूरब से चलकर पश्चिम तक देश को जोड़ रहे हैं। जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस के जवान भी उड़ी से पठानकोट तक ऐसी ही बाइक रैली निकालकर देश की एकता का संदेश दे रहे हैं। मैं इन सभी जवानों को सैल्यूट करता हूं।
Home Minister Amit Shah is now attending Rashtriya Ekta Divas program at the Statue of Unity in Kevadia, Gujarat. Earlier, in a tweet, Mr. Shah paid tributes to Sardar Patel and extended his greetings to the countrymen on Rashtriya Ekta Divas. He said that Sardar Patel's dedication, struggle and sacrifice for the motherland inspires every Indian to dedicate themselves for the unity and integrity of the country. Mr. Shah said the life of Sardar Patel tells the people that how a person with a strong will, strong leadership and indomitable patriotism can transform all the diversity within the country into unity and give the form of a united nation. Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur has paid tributes to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel on his birth anniversary and extended his best wishes on Rashtriya Ekta Divas. In a tweet, Mr. Thakur said that his contribution to keep the unity and integrity of the nation intact and to the integration of the country is unforgettable and inspiring for generations.
Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat has said that the Indian Armed Forces have scrupulously maintained the ideals enshrined in the Constitution. He said the economic progress that the country has seen over the past years can be attributed to a relatively peaceful environment achieved by the steadfast commitment of the armed forces on the borders and internally. General Bipin Rawat was delivering the annual Sardar Patel Memorial Lecture organized by All India Radio in New Delhi on the topic, Role of Indian Armed Forces in Nation Building. He said the ingrained spirit of nationhood have played a significant role in fostering the spirit of inclusive growth.
The Indian Armed Forces play a stellar role in nation building, and where in the coming years there portends a larger role for them to shape the destiny of our nation. With a combatant manpower of nearly 14 lakh personnel, the armed forces represent motivated, trustworthy, physically and mentally conditioned youth for undertaking challenging assignments. Our personnel imbibe discipline, character and ideals of selfless service, and also have some of the best developed skills, technical, social, leadership, importantly, which are adaptive towards nation building efforts.
The lecture will be broadcast on the occasion of Sardar Patel's birth anniversary today across All India Radio Network at 9:30 p.m. and the visual version will be telecast on DD National at 10 p.m.
As our nation celebrates the 75th year of independence, a series of events are being organized by the government as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. To commemorate the occasion as a Jan Utsav, All India Radio News brings its listeners a special quiz on India's freedom movement and its glorious history. The quiz is being conducted every Monday and Tuesday in morning news since 16th August and will continue till 15th August 2022. Let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News, Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
On 31st October in the year 1875, the country's first Deputy Prime Minister, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, was born. Popularly known as the Iron Man of India, Patel's birth anniversary is celebrated as the Rashtriya Ekta Divas. Born as Vallabhbhai Jhaveri Patel in Nadiad, Gujarat, he was one of the 6 children of Jhaveri Patel and Ladba.
Vallabhbhai took up a course in law and established a small practice at Godhra. He went to England in 1910 to further study the law. There he worked so hard that he topped in Roman law, securing a prize, and was called to the bar at the end of 2 years instead of the usual period of 3 years.
Vallabhbhai returned to India in 1913, setting up practice in Ahmedabad and became very successful.
From 1917 to 1924, Vallabhbhai served as the Municipal Commissioner of Ahmedabad, the first Indian to do so. He first came into prominence in 1918 during Kheda Satyagrah.
But his popularity reached pan-India after his successful leadership in the Bardoli Satyagraha in 1928, when he led the landowners in the resistance against increased taxes. His efficient leadership of the Bardoli campaign earned him the title Sardar or leader.
From the year 1930, at the time of Salt Satyagrah, till August 1942, when Congress launched Quit India movement, Sardar Patel was imprisoned several times, sometimes for more than a year.
After India attained independence, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was made the Deputy Prime Minister and was also given the charge of Ministries of Home and Information and Broadcasting. During these tumultuous days, he performed the most intricate and baffling task of convincing more than 560 princely states to join the Indian Union. With the help of V.P. Menon, Sardar Patel drafted an instrument of accession to be signed by the rulers of these states.
But some states, such as Jodhpur, Junagadh, Hyderabad and Kashmir, were either hesitant to join India or not willing. Sardar Patel dealt with them with a strong and determined mind and succeeded in integrating them into the Indian Union. Let us hear an excerpt from one of his speeches. Here, Sardar is talking about the importance of unity in the country.
हमारा कर्तव्य ये है कि हमें निश्चय कर लेना चाहिए कि हमें हिंदुस्तान में जितने लोग हैं सबको मिल के भाई भाई की तरह के रहना है और एक दूसरे के साथ गुरका गुरकी करने से कोई काम नहीं होगा और इस तरह से नहीं करना चाहिए। कोई भी कौम हो, हिंदू हो, मुसलमान हो, सिख हो, पारसी हो, ईसाई हो, सबको यही समझना चाहिए कि ये हमारा मुल्क है। हमें निश्चय करना चाहिए, इतना हो सके हमसे इतना कोशिश करके आपस में मिलजुल के रहने की कोशिश करें।
Sardar was a senior member of the Constituent Assembly and also the chairman of the committees responsible for minorities, tribal and excluded areas, fundamental rights and provincial constitutions.
Sardar Patel was also instrumental in founding the Indian Administrative Service and the Indian Police Service.
His health deteriorated rapidly in 1950. He breathed his last on 15th December, same year at the Birla House in Bombay. Numerous governments and world leaders sent messages of condolence upon his death. His cremation in Sonapur in Bombay was attended by a crowd of 1 million.
In 1991, the Government of India conferred upon him the highest civilian award, Bharat Ratna, posthumously. In 2014, the government announced his birth anniversary to be observed as Rashtriya Ekta Divas.
In 2018, on Sardar Patel's 143rd birth anniversary, Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the Statue of Unity at Kevadia in Gujarat. This statue facing Narmada Dam is the world's tallest and a fitting tribute to the enormous service Sardar Patel rendered to the country.
31st October also marks the birth anniversary of Acharya Narendra Dev. One of the most notable leaders of the Indian socialism, Acharya Narendra Dev was born on this day in 1889 in Sitapur, Uttar Pradesh. He obtained his law degree from Allahabad University and practiced law for some time, but his interests lied in scholastic works, so he became a history teacher at Kashi Vidyapith in 1921.
Later, he became the Vice-Chancellor of Lucknow University and Banaras Hindu University. He was a scholar of history, archaeology, religion, philosophy and culture. Despite the vast range of his studies, his method of teaching was simple. Lal Bahadur Shastri, Kamlapati Tripathi and Chandrasekhar were some of his prominent students.
During the freedom movement, Acharya was often sent to jail. In 1940, when Gandhiji launched Satyagraha, despite poor health, Acharya came forward and went to jail. When he was released in September 1941, Gandhi took care of his health by staying with him in the Sevagram ashram.
Acharya was arrested again during Quit India movement and was released in June 1945. Prison life greatly damaged his health, but it also proved fruitful for his scholastic interest as he got plenty of time for reading and writing.
After independence, when socialists came out of the Congress and formed the Independent Socialist Party in 1948, Acharya resigned as member of UP Legislative Assembly because he thought it was not morally right as he had won the seat on Congress ticket.
Acharya died in Madras on 19 February 1956 at the age of 67. He had made an outstanding contribution to the independence struggle and later to nation building as a teacher, thinker and socialist leader.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow. The last rites of Kannada superstar Puneet Rajkumar were performed with full state honours at Kantirava Studios in Bangalore this morning. The actor passed away due to cardiac arrest last Friday. More from our correspondent.
Passing away of power star Puneet Rajkumar at the age of 46 has left many aghast. Thousands thronged Kantirava Stadium on Friday, Saturday and today morning to have a last glimpse of their favourite Appu, as he was known among the fans. Karnataka Governor Thawarchand Gehlot, Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai, ministers in his cabinet, several members from the South India film industry paid their respects. The mortal remains wrapped in the national flag was taken in a procession to the Kantirava studio in the morning today. Throughout the route, the people thronged the streets to bid farewell to the actor. Posters were put up across the state and people paid their homage to the actor. The family members and dignitaries are now allowed in the studio to perform the last rites. Sudhindra, AIR News, Bengaluru.
In T20 Cricket World Cup today, India will take on New Zealand in Dubai at 7:30 p.m. In the first match of the day, Afghanistan will face Namibia in Abu Dhabi at 3:30 p.m. All India Radio will broadcast ball-by-ball commentary of the match. In yesterday's matches, England crushed Australia by 8 wickets in Dubai. England successfully chased a paltry target of 126, losing only 2 wickets with 8.2 overs to spare. In another match, South Africa defeated Sri Lanka by 4 wickets in Sharjah. Now let's look at the weather forecast for today. The national capital, Delhi, will mainly have a clear sky. The temperature will vary between 15 and 31 degrees Celsius. Mumbai and Kolkata will also have mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature in Mumbai was 25 degrees Celsius, while maximum will be around 33 degrees. Kolkata recorded a minimum temperature of 22 degrees Celsius. Maximum may go up to 31 degrees. Chennai is expected to have generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. Temperature will vary between 24 and 31 degrees Celsius. Hyderabad may experience generally cloudy sky with light rain or drizzle. The city observed minimum temperature of 21 degrees Celsius. Bangalore will witness a generally cloudy sky with a few spells of rain or thundershowers. Temperature will hover between 19 and 28 degrees Celsius. Thiruvananthapuram will have generally cloudy sky with a few spells of rain or thundershowers. The minimum temperature was 24 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 31 degrees. Guwahati, Imphal and Agartala will have fog or mist in the morning and mainly clear sky later. Shillong will witness partly cloudy sky. Temperature will hover between 13 and 23 degrees Celsius. Aizawl will have mainly clear sky. The minimum temperature was 16 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 27 degrees.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. Almost all newspapers have headlined their first page with the coverage of Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the G20 summit. The Hindustan Times reports, PM pitches, One Earth, One Health before G20. The Sunday Tribune adds, Make India partner in economic recovery, PM Modi at G20 summit. The Indian Express notes, a Prime Minister at the Vatican after 2 decades. Modi invites Pope to India as they talk vaccine role, climate change. The Hindustan Times observes, climate finance to top India's pitch as COP26 is set to begin. The Pioneer reports on its front page, LAC face-off hits sale of Chinese products, rupees 50,000 crore lost to Chinese exporters as Indians say no to their items this festive season also. And finally, in sports, the Hindustan Times notes, focus on openers as India face New Zealand in make-or-break World Cup match tonight.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. India is ready to produce 5 billion doses of COVID vaccine by the end of next year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi tells G20 summit. Prime Minister holds bilateral meetings with several world leaders, including US President, on the sidelines of the summit. PM Modi to attend second session of G20 summit on climate change today. Nation pays homage to unifier of modern India, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, on his birth anniversary today. Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat says economic progress witnessed by the country over the past years can be attributed to relatively peaceful environment achieved by armed forces both on borders and internally. India's COVID vaccination coverage crosses 106 crore mark. US FDA allows emergency use of Pfizer-BioNTech corona vaccine for children aged 5 to 11 years. Last rites of actor Puneet Rajkumar performed in Bangalore with full state honours. And in T20 Cricket World Cup, India to take on New Zealand in Dubai at 7:30 p.m. today. And with that, we end the morning.